Have you ever felt weighed down by arrogance, struggling to connect with others? Today we dive into Buddha's timeless teachings on conquering arrogance and embracing humility. Stay with us to uncover the path to inner peace and true strength. Arrogance can be a subtle yet powerful force, clouding our judgment and distancing us from genuine connections. In ancient times, even the wise had to contend with this challenge. The Buddha, through his profound teachings, offers us practical wisdom to overcome arrogance and cultivate humility. Let's explore these teachings and learn how to apply them in our daily lives. Arrogance often stems from a deep-seated need to feel superior, to be right, or to control. This can manifest in various ways: belittling others, refusing to listen, or feeling entitled. These behaviors not only harm our relationships, but also our inner peace. The Buddha recognized these challenges and offered insights to address them. One common challenge is the temptation to place oneself above others. This can happen in personal relationships, workplaces, and even within communities. Arrogance blinds us to the value of others and makes us resistant to feedback. The Buddha saw arrogance as a barrier to enlightenment, as it prevents us from seeing the truth about ourselves and the world. Consider the story of a wealthy man who approached Buddha, boasting about his riches and demanding respect. Instead of rebuking him, Buddha responded with a lesson in humility. He told the man a story of a wise king who, despite his wealth, spent his days serving his people and living simply. Buddha emphasized that true worth is not found in material wealth, but in one's actions and character. The wealthy man realized that his arrogance had isolated him from others and committed to using his wealth for the greater good. This story teaches us that arrogance based on material possessions is shallow and ultimately unfulfilling. In another instance, a learned scholar tried to challenge Buddha's teachings, displaying arrogance in his knowledge. The scholar, confident in his intellectual prowess, engaged in a debate with Buddha. Buddha, with calmness and clarity, pointed out that true wisdom lies in recognizing the limits of one's understanding and remaining open to learning. He used the analogy of a cup of water, explaining that a full cup cannot receive more water, just as a mind full of arrogance cannot receive new wisdom. This encounter emphasizes the importance of intellectual humility and the recognition that there is always more to learn. Then, there is the story of a proud monk who looked down upon others in the monastery. He believed his meditation practice was superior and often criticized his peers. Buddha guided him through meditation practices focused on compassion and empathy. Over time, the monk's arrogance transformed into humility. He began to see the value in his fellow monks and learned from their experiences. This narrative shows us the power of empathy and mindfulness in overcoming pride. The turning point comes when we realize that arrogance is a mask for insecurity and fear. Buddha's teachings encourage us to practice mindfulness, self-reflection, and compassion. By acknowledging our flaws and embracing our shared humanity, we find true strength and peace. The essence of Buddha's message is that humility is not about thinking less of ourselves, but thinking of ourselves less. One powerful teaching from Buddha is the concept of anatta, or non-self. This teaching reminds us that the self is an illusion created by the mind. By letting go of our ego and the need to be superior, we can connect more deeply with others in the world around us. Anatta teaches us that all beings are interconnected and that our actions affect the collective well-being. Another significant moment is found in the Jataka tales, stories of Buddha's past lives. In one such tale, Buddha was born as a wise elephant who led his herd with compassion and wisdom. A hunter, driven by arrogance, tried to capture the elephant, believing he could tame the majestic creature. Instead of reacting with anger, the elephant offered his own life to save his herd, demonstrating ultimate humility and self-sacrifice. This story exemplifies how true strength lies in selflessness and compassion. To conquer arrogance, we must embrace humility, remember Buddha's lessons, recognize the roots of arrogance, practice mindfulness, engage in self-reflection, and cultivate compassion. These steps lead us to a more fulfilling and harmonious life. By integrating these principles into our daily routines, we can build stronger, more meaningful connections with others and find inner tranquility. Start your journey towards humility today. Reflect on your actions, practice mindfulness, and spread kindness. If you find value in Buddha's teachings, like, share, and subscribe for more wisdom that can transform your life. Embrace the path of humility and watch as it transforms not only your inner world, but also the world around you.